Over the years, a supposed sickness of the mind has appeared prominently in media, like a ghost without a story, a wanderer without a passion, a whale without a tail. But there are two mediums in which this sickness has been described and explained almost one-to-one, if you excuse the plot. In Avatar, you have the beloved character Zuko, where he falls ill due to a sickness of the mind that pollutes the body, a type of sickness wherein it can be attributed to fighting your own nature, a nature that is bound for evil, of destruction, such as the previous Fire Lords before him have done, that combines Ozai's, Azulon's, and Sozin's rage and supremacy of the Fire Nation, that they are the divine rulers of the world. At least 3 generations of rage, racial supremacy, and narcissism run through Zuko's mind. But as we know, through Ursa's bloodline, he is related to Avatar Roku, the very being of balance in the sphere. This has a mental push-pull effect on Zuko, which is observed as a character arc throughout the entire show. He dreams of himself having a shaved head with a visage of Aang, as he battles this effect through a kind of suffrage that a child does when they get the flu or pneumonia, tossing, turning, sweating throughout the night, coughing. Then as they get over it, they become changed, for the better or for the worse, as we'll see in a little bit. As you're fighting your own nature and healing over that process, that isn't always one-to-one, problem to solution. Now let's take some time and analyze the counterpart. In the story of God of War 4, after the encounter with Modi in Tyr's temple, Kratos sees his son, Atreus, who has become so enraged by Modi's lackluster Yo Mama jokes that we as an audience alongside Kratos envision Atreus being filled with rage. We end up observing his own version of Spartan rage. Then as he fends off against Modi, Kratos returns to Freya as he has no one else, and he begs her to save his son's life.
The fever burns hotter. He is shaking.
It's serious. We must hurry.
Freya! Open the door! We need your help! Woman, do you hear me? It is urgent!
I'm still a god. Go away.
The boy has fallen ill! Freya! He is ill.
Inside. This is no ordinary illness. The boy's true nature, your true nature, fights within him.
I did this to him. Will you help me?
Of course. There is a...
She discussed with him that his nature, your true nature, fights within him. That statement is almost one-to-one with Zuko's story, wherein Atreus has a vengeful father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, who all of them have overthrown their parents in some type of way. Kratos' grandfather, Kronos, killed his father, Uranus, for overruling power. Then as the Greek mythos origin goes, Kronos is told of a prophecy that his children will overthrow him. So then he proceeds to eat them one by one, until Rhea, his wife, hides the last child, Zeus. Then he grows, taking over with his siblings, the Olympians, in the Titan-Olympian War. Kratos, as we see in the Greek saga, ends up fulfilling the prophecy again, this time killing the whole Greek pantheon in his wake. Do we see the same pattern here? Like Zuko's family, Atreus himself at least has 3 generations of bloodshed and rage that is spiritually ingrained in his ancestry. Now, how are these problems solved for our characters? Well, Zuko, as I've already implied, fought it out through dreams, and more importantly, through sweating. I'll come back to the importance of this later. But I digress. He ends up accepting the situation, that which he has found himself in. Acceptance and virtue on the surface as he wakes up a new man. To heal his son, Kratos ventures to Helheim to retrieve the bridge keeper's heart. But first he has to return home to dig up the past which he swore would stay buried. While retrieving the Blades of Chaos, something interesting happens here, which Athena returns from an illusion. She belittles him, a literal echo of reminders of whom he once was, what his bloodline is forged from. After reaching the bridge keeper's heart, he sees a visage of Zeus, who he had killed for wrought of vengeance. It is unclear to me. I always thought the scene was a little bit strange. It almost feels like Freya knew that his past would visibly haunt him here, as the bridge keeper's heart serves no other purpose other than to keep the fever down, but no other mention of it returning back to Atreus. I feel like Kratos had to confront Athena and Zeus here, so he knows what to do going forward. It's more reinstated in his mind. After the recuperation of Atreus' health, he, like Zuko, wakes up a different person, but Atreus turns into a vengeful, ignorant child, especially after being told that he is a god, a destiny and path that he doesn't fully understand, and the behavior is completely out of character, much like our scarred prince, and that he feels there is nothing to stop him. Like with Zuko freeing Appa from his capture and the lesson that Iroh stoically teaches him. The lesson being that he doesn't fully understand what his destiny is, he has to stop and think about it. Your destiny doesn't have to be your instinct. You can always change it at any given time. But you have to change first. You have to change the ways that you think. At the end, Zuko throws away part of his identity, a mask, visually, the face of the blue spirit. He is one step closer to where he needs to be. Like Atreus and his father, Atreus rids himself of his darker, self-absorbed nature in Helheim, realizing that his actions he was committing weren't right. They weren't who he is supposed to be. Recall when I had spoken about sweating being a crucial part of this video. Like I had discussed in my other video, the hidden inspiration and depth of Avatar: The Last Airbender, I had mentioned that the water tribe was obviously inspired by Inuit and northern Native American cultures. This is an expansion of that notion. The natives believed that sweat served a spiritual purpose, so they had introduced sweat baths to rid mental demons so the body could thrive. They believed that a bodily illness affected the mind, and that is true the other way around. We see this in Avatar with Zuko's growth, as we see the concept unfold in God of War. The ancient Greeks were actually the first to popularize it amongst Europe, though I have yet found significant evidence that they had used it for spiritual reasons. It was for the body. The bodies are temples in which you have to take care of. Perhaps maybe they also thought of the sickness of nature over consciousness. Maybe it was the Spartan culture with rigorous training of the mind and body, or the Tibetan culture that inspired modern-day Wim Hof philosophy, that training the mind in obscene environments focuses your mind in a better place, as we try to discover our true identity, what we are as the individual. Was God of War and Avatar inspired by Greek or Native American cultures or Tibetan interpretations? In the end, it doesn't really matter. I think Brock said it best when he said,
Ooh, that's brisk. Think I'll grab some for the lady.
Grab some what? The wind?
No, you idiot! The sound of the wind. How? Watch and learn. See? Dwarven magic's all about the intangibles. The relationship between the stuff what you can touch and what you can't. It's about understanding.
Understanding what?
The nature of a thing's more important than the form of a thing.
Like the words we use today have changed their form and sometimes, with time, have evolved their meanings. I think the point of this video was, it doesn't matter where we come from or who we were inspired by. It's the fact that we exist and we're inspired at all. That we don't have to change. We don't have to be who we were or where we are currently. We can always change and choose a different direction. And sometimes it's needed. Sometimes there is somewhat of a divine intervention that forces us to change because we have to. We can't be self-destructive or harm ourselves in a way that isn't good for us. I would like to point out in post-editing the argument of who would be stronger, or older or younger Kratos, and I would like to add my opinion in this video as I believe it is relevant. Change is not a problem-solved solution. It can be a cycle of many failures and small victories, as we've just kind of went over previously. Older Kratos only seems weaker because he is evolving from the ghost of Sparta to the god of redemption/hope. You never realize the power that you have until you reflect on the times you had nothing. And for some of us the opposite is true. We never realize the power that we possess till we have everything to lose. It is a battle of wisdom over brute force and thought. Personally, I believe older Kratos would still win even if he didn't have to revert back to his old anger, as he managed to defeat Heimdall, which albeit a weaker opponent compared to the plethora that he's faced. But he did it without even having to think. Whereas younger Kratos had to think and react first. Though he had brute force, he had to also take time to think about different types of situations and use the environment to his will, where Kratos already has that instinct because he's done it so much. He has that opportunity of wisdom that younger Kratos doesn't have yet. Though I still stand by the fact that the question's too vague and complex to really answer outright. If you've made it to the end, thank you so much. This took a lot of work and research. If you have anything to say, or new information to share, or correct me, by all means add it in the comments. I would also like to thank one commenter who inspired this whole video, who had forgot the name, as the comment was removed before I had a chance to reply to it. Thank you again, and as always, the best is yet to come.